Slipknot without the screaming, an energy so stark, a Marshall Mathers without the rhymes, like executing Beethoven music without the lines. You know something's missing, but you can't figure out why. Maybe it was done and fleeing and the music's about to die. It's like the Snoop without the dog, and a tour without the smoke, Biggie without the Smalls, Tyson without the Broke, Led without the Zeppelin, Strummer without the Clash, Paul without Lennon, like Johnny without the cash, like Mick without Keith, and the band without the boss, just like Angus without the Young, and Wings without the sauce, Guns without the Roses, Axl without Slash, a guitar without Jimmy, a finale without Mash. Mash, 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 mash. When life seems down and everything tattered, take a trip with us back to when the music mattered. When life seems down and everything tattered, take a trip with us back to when the music mattered. Music mattered, music mattered, music mattered, music mattered, music mattered, music mattered, music mattered.
And with that, welcome back to another episode of When the Music Mattered. I am Toronto's pride and joy, Mr. Ray Rout, and that is my co-host, maybe the best looking soldier in Edmonton, Mr. Army Kris. Kris, what's going on, man? How are you?
I know some sexier looking soldiers than me, bro. I don't know much, man. It's we're dealing with the storm of life here coming in. So if the power goes out and I disappear, you guys enjoy the rest of the show.
I'll just be carrying it out on my own. So
there you go, which I know you can handle.
We'll see. I realized a little while ago that I worked with a partner. I started out all by myself, as you know, back in the day. And then I started working with a partner and I became so reliant of working on a partner. I forgot what it was like to work by myself. So got to figure that out. But Kris, I want to throw a little bit of a shout out to our audience out there.
Yeah.
Because last week was week number 1 of When the Music Matters. We put out one long form show and then cut up clips.
Which is like called a pilot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had over in 1 week 8.4 thousand views collectively on all of our short videos and our podcast. When I started Dear Pats Nation, which ended up being a 20,000 subscriber,
I remember that
behemoth. When I first started, I was really, really excited, like my first month, because I had like 1,000 total views for the month. We had 8.4 thousand last week 1 alone. So thank you very much to our audience. And that's just on YouTube. That doesn't include what's been happening on Instagram and over on our TikToks and all that kind of stuff. So thank you. Thank you very much for you people caring about When the Music Matters. And for the ones who've been leaving me negative comments, fuck you. I don't care.
Yeah, we don't care. Go do something with your life.
So Kris, last week you told me that I was going to love Joan Jett when I said I was going to.
Yes, so let's go back because I need your Google review of that concert, man. I want to know how it went down.
Okay, let me start with Billy and then I'll go to Joan because I think it's important I go that route.
Yep.
Let me first start with Billy Idol at 69 years old is still a ball full of fucking energy. And both Billy and Joan Jett, Kate pointed this out to me. I didn't notice it until Billy was on stage. She pointed out to me. She goes, both of them sound like they sound on their records. Like they just kind of like some artists are studio artists. Some are live artists. Like both of them were both. They both sounded great live. But dude, Steve Stevens, as you know, is one of my guitar idols. And that's why I was at the show. I don't think I'm going to get in trouble for this because I have just a little 1-minute clip here of something that Steve Stevens does that I just want to share with everybody because it's fucking phenomenal. Dude, the guy is so good.
That was different.
Yeah, so he came out. The funniest part is they went into Moni Moni right after that. So that just
Really?
like,
So that was like
yeah,
some kind of Mexican. What do you
yeah.
call that? What do you call that?
It was
Do you know?
Spanish guitar. So it's
Yeah.
Spanish guitar playing. This guy, it sounded
Fucking
like
wild,
old
man.
sort of like Matador sounding music. He
Yeah,
came
that's
out
shit. That's what I'm thinking. I just can't put the genre or word to it. It's really good.
8 minutes.
8
8 minutes.
minutes.
Yeah, at some point he broke into Stairway to Heaven as a little joke. Then he stopped and he started slapping
Okay.
his hands. But played that for 8 minutes, just that Spanish style of guitar. It was phenomenal. He did a bunch of other stuff throughout the show, like with his guitar playing that I
Yeah.
can't share because we'll get copyrighted on. I think I'm gonna be safe with that one. I love Billy Idol. Billy Idol was great, one of my bucket list guys. But I told you last week I was there for Steve Stevens, and he did not disappoint. But let me get to what really matters.
Yeah.
Joan Jett, to me, going into that show, was just there. I was there to see Steve Stevens featuring Billy Idol. I know it's the other way around, but I was there to see Steve Stevens. I wanted to see Billy Idol. Joan Jett was just the opening act. At the end of the last show, you said you're going to fucking love Joan Jett.
Yeah.
Joan Jett is a fucking boss. That's all I'm going to say. I have
No,
a
100%, dude. So like when I walked in, same situation. So this is a few years ago when that super concert was in Edmonton. They had Crew, Poison, Def Leppard, and Joan Jett was like the first one, right? And so we show up because you always show up a little bit late, and we're in the concession, the line above fucking hell to get a beer, and I could hear her outside. We're not in the seats yet, and it was like, wow, man, she can still rip it.
dude.
It was unbelievable. She was unbelievable. I'm like, holy fuck, and I missed it. I was like, oh, I wish I would have saw that rather than, I won't name which two other bands that were not that great, or one other band that was not that great.
Let's
But
say what it
she
is.
crushed it. Motley Crue can fucking stop.
And
Vince Neil can go sell water beds. He's done.
Yeah, Motley Crue is one of my top 5 favorite bands, as you know, Chris. And when
Yeah.
you shared that, you texted us that video, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh my god!" But anyways, back to Joan Jett.
Yeah.
Dude, 66 years old. She's rocking it on. Dude, I bought merch. Her merch is boss. She's
Oh,
boss.
nice. Good.
She came out and kind of did like a Bruce Springsteen. I don't know if you saw what Springsteen did out in Manchester.
I did. Yep.
She pulled a Bruce Springsteen. She talked about Canada, fucking sang the opening of Oh Canada. Like she's just, everything about her was boss. I was actually worried for Billy Idol coming out because I thought that Joan Jett
He's gonna follow that, man. It's
just ruined it.
awesome.
But he did a really good job too. I gotta say, for two people pushing 70, they did a super good job. Billy played all the hits, played some songs off his new album, which were good. And I've listened to his new album. I mean, if you like Billy Idol, you'll like his new album because it's a Billy Idol album. That's the only way I can explain it.
Yeah.
It was good. But Joan Jett, absolutely boss. Love the show. My next show for me is in July. I am seeing Stephen Page, David Wilcox, and Big Wreck. What a mix.
David Wilcox, you know he's blind, right?
Is he blind?
Yeah, man. So he's like 98% blind or whatever. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I'm not making this up. And this is for a long time. So he has certain people and like lighting to flash to tell him where he is, but he's fucking watch him. Just look at him. Looking at any video, he's staring up into space, man. Not because he's right out of it from heavy drugs, which is probably part of it. But he's I'm pretty sure you can fact check me on this, please do. He's fucking blind, bro.
He's pushing 80 years old now.
Yeah,
we looked it up.
He still rips. Like I saw him. The last time I saw him was probably like 20 years ago.
So we'll find out now that he's 20 years older. And that's actually a really good segue because where I'm going to see him is at the Sound of Music Festival, which is in Burlington, Ontario, Canada.
Nice.
Just down the road from where my parents live now and where I live for some of my teenhood in Oakville. And it's a free 4-day music festival.
Free.
Yeah, so it starts on the Thursday night. I can't get there Thursday. I'm going Friday, Saturday. Thursday night, a local band from Oakville called The Kings. This beat goes on and switching to glide. They're going to be there.
I call that switching to rye, man, because I love those fucking guys.
Yeah, so they're going to be, I think, headlining that night.
Nice.
We're seeing Stephen Page is going to play there. Stephen Page of the Barenaked Ladies. Obviously, David Wilcox, another local flavor of the Greater Toronto area. And of course, Big Wreck will be headlining on Saturday night. I've seen Evanescence play at this show. I've seen some big names play at this music festival over the years. And
Similar out here, similar again, because I'm also supporting the segue here, right? Loverboy, the Guess Who, right, or BTO or whoever, right? So all these Western bands can conglomerate in Winnipeg. The Craven Jamboree in Saskatchewan is fucking huge. And then there's certain events in Alberta that'll transpire. But it's the same type of thing, and that's awesome, man. But not free, never free. That's interesting.
Oh, yeah, Burlington is always free, which is phenomenal. They bring in some big sponsors and they bring it in free. So, been going there since I was like 15, 16 years old. Like I said, I think I saw Evanescence there in 2002, 2003. But that's going to bring us into what we want to talk about today, because today's subject is talking about local music and local bands. Now, we will be exploring some of the artists that come from our area. We kept it to the big city of, obviously, west out in Edmonton and here in Toronto, though I do live about 30 minutes north of Toronto now. We're just going to do the 416 GTA
and the GTE.
And the GTE. And we're going to, we have
call it that here, but
we have 6 artists lined up to talk about today, but we're already 12 minutes in and haven't even got to the subject matter yet. So we might cut short, but we'll get to what we can. But I think what we want to focus on is what local music actually does for the community, what it does for musicians, and what it does for us. Because I think what often happens is, and anybody who's ever been in the music scene, and I come from the music scene, not as a professional, but a one-time starving, aspiring musician, and you always hit this wall of wanting to give up. You hit this wall of, is it going to happen for me? And for the most part, the answer is no, it won't. It didn't happen for me. It didn't happen for many people I knew. I think we had a good band. I think a band we played with often was even better than us, and we didn't even get a sniff of a label. However, we looked at bands like Sum 41. We looked at Our Lady Peace. We looked at Finger 11. We looked at Boys Night Out, who was more of an indie band that was starting to gain some popularity across Canada and the United States.
Yeah.
And they kept us motivated. They gave us the story of regional bands that can keep on going. And I want to ask you, being from Edmonton, Alberta, and obviously the music scene in Toronto is going to be a lot different than the music scene in Edmonton, even though they're both metropolitans. Toronto is a different type of metro. It's more of a New York City. You're probably
just based on sheer size, right?
Yeah. And I would call Edmonton more of like a Minneapolis, if we're talking to our fans in the States, you know what I mean? Of what it would look like. What is the local music scene like in Edmonton, and what's the impact that it has there?
So, like, it's an evolving thing, because if you look at, well, I'm not teasing it out yet right now. I picked 3 very different genres of music to try to give you a montage of the music scene in Edmonton. I would say right now, the underground, not the underground. There used to be a lot of punk, SNFU. We talked about that in the last show. Was the first punk band that really resonated with me, because they were local. And there are a lot of folk rock type stuff in the university area, which we'll kind of dive into later on. And a few rock bands, not a lot of major rock bands. We're going to talk about one of them, but I would suggest that there's a lot more folk type music, folk rock. And I hate genres. You guys know that. If you watch the last show or listen to it, I hate the 900 genres there is today. But a lot of folky type stuff, and not much in the hip hop scene.
Yeah, so
we found a guy.
I was going to say, since we're talking about all the folk rock and folk, and we're going to talk about Alberta's answer to the Great Big Sea. Before we do that, we're going to talk about Cadence Weapon, a hip hop artist from Edmonton, has lived in during my research. Kris has lived in basically every major city in Canada. He's lived in Montreal, he's lived in Edmonton, he's lived in Calgary, he's lived in Toronto, he's lived in Vancouver. He's sort of traveled the Canadian map, if you will. I admitted to you when we had a call on Saturday night, and I admitted to you I'd never heard of Cadence Weapon before, and I was listening to his stuff. of course, the first song I click on is about Connor McDavid.
Yeah,
So.
I was gonna say. So if you're gonna pick two, there's okay. So let me touch on that. He wrote a Connor McDavid song when McDavid came on the scene, and then he wrote a remastered or different version of it for the 2024 Stanley Cup run. And I'm gonna reach out to. I don't know if you ever see this show, but bro, you better do something for 2025 because we're steamrolling right now. So we'll see what he does. And then the second one, if you need to be from Edmonton to understand this song, and there's lots of songs, but again, we're limited on time. And it's called Oliver Square, which is a place kind of just north of downtown. And it's my favorite Cadence Weapon song because it touches on all these party drinking spots in Edmonton back in the day, like in the 90s and shit. And you really need to be from Edmonton to understand what he's saying. And if you are, you will know every fucking one of these spots and you can relate to everything it's all these sub stories in the song, usually about drinking and partying and getting in shit and getting beat up, like on the north side where I live.
But that's
that just touches people. You know what I'm saying? That touches you because that's fucking local. That's not a guy that just grew up here and then like left. Like, so Cadence Weapons his real name is Rolly Pemberton. His dad, Teddy, was a DJ on an independent radio station called CJSR, which still is around today, and it really focuses on local. Oh, we got thunder coming, boys. Local music. It's an indie thing, like CKUA. It was University Radio. I don't know. I'm sure you have that in Toronto.
We have something similar here, yes.
Right? That is not stuck in the mainstream bullshit of terrestrial radio as we know it today. They invite jocks to come on and play different stuff and local stuff. And that's how Cadence Weapon got into hip hop and stuff. Like that's a thumbnail small sketch because we're limited on time.
Yeah, we have Indie 88 here, which is focused.
Funny thing, CSR is 88.5. There you go.
Yeah, focus on indie. But let's talk about that a little bit because there's a lot. And I texted you and said, dude, we could do 3 shows on Cadence Weapon.
And you could easy.
And I think we should revisit him because, dude, there's a lot. He was Edmonton's poet laureate.
Correct, man. And I can't even pronounce that second part of that word.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's an award because he's an author too, right?
Yeah.
He's getting literary awards as a rapper. So that's important.
He's a big activist. He has a lot of politically driven music. He wrote a song that came out just after George Floyd. Like a lot of different, like I said, I think we need to do a deeper dive into him and maybe we can reach out and see maybe he can come on and help us with that deep dive. Cadence, if you're listening.
Yeah, we're going to reach out.
Yeah, when the music matters. But let's talk about that. So like, you hear about like, I think Billy Joe Armstrong's kid right now, obviously Billy Joel Armstrong from Green Day. His kid's out right now trying to cut his teeth in the music business.
Okay. That's cool.
Teddy Pemberton was not a musician, he's a DJ.
Yep.
But he's the guy, if my research is correct, that pioneered bringing hip hop to Edmonton. There was no hip hop scene in Edmonton prior to Teddy Pemberton.
That's correct, because he had the flexibility, thanks to CJSR and independent radio, to do that because he wasn't constrained by all the rules that your conventional big media radio stations follow. And this is the 80s, and most certainly he should be credited. If he's not, he should be. And that was the influence on his son, Rolly, to evolve into what he was. So it's a fucking big deal.
And I think I got to give it to Cadence because there's got to be a lot of pressure on you. Your father, okay, your father wasn't a musician, but your father's the guy that not just brought hip hop into your life, brought hip hop to probably a province. I assume it wasn't in Calgary and that Edmonton was just blind to it. I'm sure he brought hip hop to the province of Alberta. I mean, dude, that's a little bit of a legacy you got to live up to.
I don't know if it's so much that he had to chase it, is that he used it as a huge, I know this, based on research and just the community and stuff, is like he just used that as a conduit. Like that just fueled him and go, okay, so my dad introduced this to me and his mom played piano and he just started blending it and turned it into his own thing. So I don't know, maybe, let's get him on the show and we'll find out. But it definitely influenced his musical direction and his socio-political direction. But yeah, it absolutely started with his dad spinning all that hip hop and R&B that didn't most certainly probably did not resonate in Edmonton back in the 80s. And he just had the platform to do it, and it worked.
And he's really an innovating hip hop artist. He's a Polaris winner.
Yeah.
He works with a lot of experimental beats. He's heavily influenced by electronic music, but he adds in grime, he adds in indie sounds. I would say that he even has some grunge and rock influences into his music. It's really a very eclectic. If you're like me and you have never heard of Cadence Weapon, I really highly suggest jump on Spotify or wherever you get your music.
Yeah, he's got
everywhere.
five. One's a reboot. 5 studio albums, and the latest one for 2024's Roller Coaster. Check it out. It's good.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. And there's so much to say about him. But we have more we got to get to.
Yeah, we do.
And I do want to do a deep dive on him. So you went deep for Cadence Weapon and brought in a guy who's Edmonton bound. I went not as deep and kind of mainstream, but I think a group that was important to the 90s and the 2000s, other Canadian bands. And I brought in Our Lady Peace, who comes from the 416.
Rain Maida, come on.
Now, people may be looking at me right now and saying, Ray, what a cop-out. And when you see Chris's band, you'll see it. He's bringing in some like local flavor. And I could have went deeper and brought in some deep cuts and introduced you to musicians you never heard of. But Our Lady Peace was the first Canadian sort of post-grunge alt-rock band to break into the U.S. scene.
I agree with that 100%.
And
right?
they were
really busted out.
So they were so important for the rest of those bands. The tea parties that came kind of around that same time, Headstone, even like bands like the Tragically Hip, who were trying to break into the U.S. markets, who weren't really there. Our Lady Peace was so ahead of its time. First of all, Our Lady Peace's name is after a poem. People don't realize that Rain Maida is just that he was a philosophy major. He is just so into spirituality. But one thing that Our Lady Peace did that I think was an impact on music, and Kris and I have gone back and forth about this, and it's only episode 2, but it's something that stays in our frontal lobes, is that this show is called When the Music Mattered. So we always try to, when we're looking at our content and when we're talking about bands or artists, we're got to talk about why it matters.
Yeah, not just like I did a radio show before, as you know, and it wasn't centric on that. And when you dropped the name of what this show was going to be, I went, oh, I got to think differently. So this totally aligns with that, right? We're talking about music that matters, not just. There's lots of good music out there, but it comes and goes, and there's stuff that resonates and sticks to your skin. And that's what we're talking about. And so I don't care. People might go, oh, well, you picked OLP. Well, fucking OLP is a big deal, in case you didn't, notice.
Well, and
by the way, their first live concert video thing was recorded in Edmonton, by the way, not Toronto. Just saying, bro. Sorry.
Because it's cheap out
there. I was there.
It's too expensive for.
I was there. It was awesome, man. It was their first, like, fucking, we're filming a concert. Yeah. And they did it. They announced, okay, hey, this is being filmed to try to be cool. And it was a fucking good show, bro.
You guys
really, really good, man.
You guys get all the cool Our Lady Peace moments. OLP was in Edmonton when Canada beat the US in hockey there this year.
Yeah, that's true.
Mid-concert, Rain gets to tell everybody in Edmonton that Canada won, and the whole crowd sings "Oh Canada." Absolutely phenomenal. I saw Our Lady Peace at Live 8 in 2005, and there's this moment they're singing Innocent, and he comes to the front of the stage and he starts screaming, we are all innocent, and he grabs a Canadian flag from the crowd and hoists it up in the air, and he says, the Canadian flag is draping down. And I was like, wow, what a fucking moment.
Like, that's the shit that makes your hair stand up, right? Like,
absolutely
tingly, because that is just so. And again, this isn't just a Canadian show, but you got a local, because the focus today is local bands that came from fucking playing in bars, grinding, barely getting by, and became, what they were, but stay true to their roots.
And I'll leave this one point with Our Lady Peace before we move on, but I think this is an important one. So away from being the pioneer for grunge bands in that era of breaking Canadian grunge bands into the US scene, a lot having to do with their music videos, which will be a subject for another day. They were also pioneers when it came to the digital frontier. In 2005, when I was 19 years old, Our Lady Peace released a fan remixable version of Healthy and Paranoid Times, and it gave listeners access
And remixable. That's
to isolated tracks so they could reimagine the songs themselves. This is at a time when Metallica is suing Napster. This is at a time when bands all over the world are getting upset with the digital frontier. Oh, no record sales. It's going to ruin music. Here on the forefront is Our Lady Peace. And it's actually the other band. One of the other bands I'm going to talk about from Toronto Day were the other ones who were way ahead of digital time, but we'll get there.
We're doing a whole show on Napster, man. I got fucking hours worth of conversation. To be continued. Sorry to interrupt, bro.
No, absolutely. But we're now going to jump on the QEW. We're going to head towards Pearson International Airport. We're going to get on a Porter flight, have our free beer. We're going to land back in Edmonton. And we're going to go check out Captain
Tractor. Now, this is way off the fucking... This is a band that you do not expect to be from Edmonton. And most people would not peg them from Edmonton because they are very Celtic folk, East Coast style, barroom, pub banging music. It's not... Most people would never know that they're from Edmonton.
Well, I think in the research that I did and that I sent over to you, it said they were Alberta's answer to the Great Big Sea, obviously out from Newfoundland.
It's a bold statement, but I appreciate it. Yep.
So tell me about... So I was actually coming back from Markham, Ontario. I said I live about 30 minutes north of Toronto now in Newmarket. So I had a good 20-minute drive ahead of me. And I played Captain Tractor for that entire ride.
Did you really?
I did, and I'm not a Celtic guy. I'm not a folk. I shouldn't say that. I like Bob Dylan and I like some folky music, but I'm not really that sort of East Coast, what I'm now going to call prairie flair of Celtic. But talk to me about...
You just invented a new term right there.
I did.
Prairie. Put that shit in the socials. Hashtag prairie flair. I want to see what comes up.
Hashtag prairie flair. But tell me a little bit about it. You chose this band, so I'm going to let you kind of take it away. Like, tell me about them. Why did you see it as so important to the scene? And tell me, have you ever been to one of their shows? Because from what I've read, they're fucking wild.
They're off the fucking chain. I've seen them both in bars and on like semi-bigger venues. Mostly back in the day, 90s, 2000s and stuff. So I, when I was in the 90s, when I was back in Edmonton from Shiloh, Manitoba, which is not the greatest place on earth. I was an army guy. I lived on the south side of Edmonton, off of what's called White Ave in the University area. So it's full of pubs. It's like pub, coffee shop, knick-knack shop, pub, coffee shop, knick-knack shop. And it's U of A locals only. And that's where all these local bands would play. And they'd play all these venues. And there was a bunch of bands that, were playing pub music, right? There's a band called The Northwest Passage. It just feels like there's like 10 bands that were called that. But Captain Tractor was playing as well. And they're playing... What made it different is they're playing East Coast vibe music with a Western prairie theme to it. If you listen to the last Pirate of Saskatchewan,
I love that you couldn't even get through that. Like, I love that you couldn't even say the name.
You'll fucking get it, man. Like, you're like, what? And it's a he. Anyways, listen to that song. If you haven't heard it, listen to it. Like, if you don't know what the mighty Saskatchewan River is, it's the North Saskatchewan and South Saskatchewan. And the whole song is about being like the last pirate on the prairies, rolling your boat up on these fucking rivers. They do some covers too, like they do Drunken Sailor and stuff like that, which has made them help them out and help boost them. But a lot of their music is East Coast sound, but prairie's story, which is to me unique. There's nobody else has done this. None. There's no other band who's done that.
Well, I totally agree with you, because that's the one thing that I was thinking about. How often
Well, it's fucking pretty niche,
Yeah.
so I don't know if it's gonna how much staying power it's got, but I mean, those
Well, I mean,
guys were
they've been
ripping
around.
her up.
They've been around since the 90s, right? I mean, I think
Yeah,
they really hit it big with their album Hat Trick in 1998.
that was
Uh,
that was their peak. I
yeah.
think. I
And
think it was.
yeah, and I say that as if like I'm like an expert on this. I do research for the show.
I'm not either, though, because this is a band I listened to in the '90s, right? So we said,
But-
okay, and you'd pick three, and I said, I'm going to go all over the map here to create some diversity in the genre.
I know
I'm like,
with
Captain Tractor fucking rocks, man.
I went with 3 like mainstream.
That's okay because it's like whatever it's okay to go to mainstream
I
because it's the show's called When the Music Mattered, and there's heavy influence on your mainstream. You pick one band. I'm gonna have a cigarette while you talk about them because I fucking hate them. We'll come to that later.
Is it the oldest band?
Probably. We'll save it. Anyway, Captain Tractor had very unique music, East Coast flair with West Coast or prairies stories, Western Canadian stories.
Yeah, and I can only imagine
which is so neat.
There's not many stories about canola farmers out there.
No, there's not a lot, man.
And guys working on the oil fields. And
right,
just,
typically don't last that long, but just how they approached it and how they would rock a live show. Because live music, because we haven't touched on that. Live music is to me is the best, even if it's music I don't like or it's not my genre. Like if it's live and I'm in a bar or at a fucking small venue, I don't like big arena concerts so much anymore. But that to me is what really is it, and that's how I met these bands. And there's a bunch of honorable mentions. Bad phone.
That's my wife's work phone that she's supposed to turn off at the end of every day.
Oh shit! My dryer's running right now. Yeah, I don't think you can hear it.
Honestly, I can hear my dog howling downstairs. The phone starts going.
Is that like a landline?
Yeah. Well, it's
shut up. You have a landline.
No.
People are gonna listen to the show like fucking. There's a guy with a landline. Wow.
It's an internet. It's an internet phone. It's an internet phone that's like a landline.
Kind of like a landline.
But geez.
I didn't know those existed, man. I hope you're getting a good price from Rogers or whoever.
Hey, listen, this is
the last. We're gonna get a new pod going called The Last Landline with Ray Rogers.
So I just got rid of my landline, I think about a year ago.
What?
But I didn't have a phone hooked up to it.
Dude, I haven't had a fucking landline since '97.
I've had it, but when we bought the house in 2009, we bought the package, landline, internet,
cable,
you whatever.
Get the whole. We're gonna give you a deal if you buy this.
Exactly. So every year, it was just cheaper for us to keep the landline. I didn't have a phone hooked up to that landline for like 12 years, but I still had it. But we got rid of cable and got rid of everything. All we have is internet now, and we just streaming stuff.
My last landline was so I could open the door to my apartment. And then I didn't do that anymore, so I fucking got rid of it.
We finally got rid of the landline, but my wife works from home.
Yeah.
So that phone you heard is an old school handset, but it's hooked up to the internet.
It sounded old school, like that.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm like waiting for the dial-up modem to kick in.
I don't know if I'm supposed to be touching this, but
I wouldn't touch it, man.
Oh yeah, it's like I don't know if you can see it. Like it's an old school,
fucking old tech. Look at that thing.
Yeah, but it's an internet phone.
Yeah. Anyways, we can move on.
Yeah,
you can edit all this shit out later if you want.
No, fuck that. No.
Let it go,
dude. That's what for me. Listen, we'll get into radio and that kind of thing, and I don't think people who know us and people who we used to work for a network. It was owned by Dean Blundell, famous radio host from here.
Yep, he was very, very good at what he did back in the day. I'll give him that.
And he always taught me never delete and never edit.
I agree with that. I don't give a fuck. Let it go, man.
And live with it.
It needs to be organic.
All right, let's get to my next band here. They're actually from Scarborough, which is a part of that Greater Toronto area, and it is the laid-back, relaxed vocals of Ed Roberts, and of course the theatricals of Stephen Page, and it is the Barenaked Ladies.
No one cannot like this band. And if you do, you're like a fucking evil, shitty human. They're just such a great band, man. Come on.
I think there are people in this world that just hate for the sake of hating, and I think the people that hate the Barenaked Ladies are the people who just hate for the sake of hating. Now I know that the brave TikTok warriors are going to come at me for this if they don't like the Barenaked Ladies, but dude, this is a band that has something for everybody. They have humor, they have rock and roll, they have folky country sounds, they have If I Had $1 Million, which has been a hit around the world. But I want to point out that in 1991, this band put out a cassette tape. A cassette tape, Kris, that's it, all on their own.
Yep.
And it went platinum without a label. The yellow tape went platinum without a label.
You're dropping some facts I did not know. That's fucking impressive.
And they were the first band in Canadian history, indie band in Canadian history, who released a tape that went platinum without a label. And they got a cult following after that. You'll Be My Yoko Ono, If I Had $1 Million. And then the song that put them on the world map, and this could be a little bit of tidbit for our music video show as well, was a video that was actually directed by 90210's and Canadian actor Jason Priestley. Yeah. And he directed Old Apartment, which is
their best song in my opinion.
That's my favorite song too.
Yeah.
And I know that Stephen Page plays it at his live show, so I'm excited for June and the next couple of weeks when I get to go see it. But Old Apartment is what hit them on the world stage. And the Barenaked Ladies, to me, are the epitome of, I think if Gord Downie and the Tragically Hip never were on the scene, the Barenaked Ladies would be that beloved Canadian band that the Tragically Hip were. And I think one day
maybe
they will be seen that way.
I think here's why I like them. Because they were the exact opposite of everything else I was listening to then. Right? Everything was aggressive, or socially or politically charged. Not everything, but a lot. To me, it was just like, what the fuck is this? We're talking about, I'm going to buy you an emu. I'm like, what? And it was just so chill, so easygoing. I was like, I need this. It's called balance. You need balance in your musical world. I think you do. I mean, you guys can all think about this. Everybody's listening and watching. Is having musical balance between, you can't just live in one genre that's like overly aggressive or overly folky or overly. Your brain needs balance. Your brain rhythmically adapts to music. That's a scientific fact. You can look it up. So I feel like you need balance. And BNL back then brought balance to kind of a lot of what I was listening to. And it was very, very different. But you have to have an open mind and be broadband with your music. And I was. And I like their music, like not all of it. I wouldn't listen to them religiously, but I definitely agree with you on their impact on Canadian music or just music in general. And I like a lot of those songs. Some of them are just goofy and fun. And then Apartment songs actually got a little bit some dark tones to it, man.
And they do.
Right? There's some dark tones. You might miss them if you listen to Apartment song and re-listen to it and listen to some of those lyrics. There's a tint, in my opinion, of some darkness to that.
Why did you patch over the hole I punched
in the wall? Like, yeah. Well, okay, so there's something going on there, and then they move forward, right? But that's one of the lines in that song that really hit me. I'm like, oh, okay, man, this is a young man who's in love, and he's probably in his 20s, because I've been that guy, and gets in a fight and fucking throws holes in the wall, and she moves out, everybody moves out, and he's still stuck in that space. Like, that's a dark song, depending on how you perceive it.
And to bring it back full circle to your Cadence Weapon reference, when he, wrote the song about Edmonton, there's lines in that song too that you have to be from Toronto, the area, to understand.
Okay, is that, I did not know that, because I'm not. So that's interesting that you say that.
One of the big ones is, what are we doing for? I heard that you bought a house up on the Danforth. The Danforth.
I know where Danforth is.
Yeah, it's a very famous street here in Toronto. It's Greek town, and they used to do the Heart of Greek festival there, and it was a thing. But if you're not from the area, or someone like you who visits enough, a lot of people don't know what the Danforth is.
Yeah. Now I do, because I know exactly where that is.
No pitch here, no paid advertisement. Corey's Clothier is probably one of the most famous suit shops in Ontario, is out on the Danforth. So yeah, so they make reference to that. And back then, if you're not from the area, you don't even know what that means.
Yeah, you wouldn't know.
You just think, oh, it's talking about the Danforth. So, but what I've really liked about the Barenaked Ladies, the impact that they had on me, was number one, Stephen Page did not look like your typical rock star. He was a nerdy sort of fat guy.
Yeah.
And for me, I told you I was this weird mix because I was an athlete who was also in love with punk rock, and I never really fit in any scene. I didn't fit with the jocks because I was too punky rockish and skater, but I didn't fully fit with the skaters because I was too much of a jock. You know what I mean? So it's like I had friends in both circles, never really fell the place. And I felt like Stephen Page was a guy, like, he didn't fit anywhere either. But
I
yeah,
was the same way. I was like the fucking United Nations in high school. I bounced between all the groups.
Thing, I wasn't unpopular,
but didn't fit in with any of them. So that sucks when you're a kid, but it also allows you. Yeah, it also broadband your mindset between what this group's listening to. Since we're on music, I'll just focus there, and what these guys are listening to, and like kind of pick what you like and figure it out.
And music is actually formed the cliques or the cliques.
Well, it's 100% in school, but junior high, high school, 100% did. You were like right going back to the 80s. You're a headbanger, listen to metal. You were a preppy, and you were into Duran Duran and fucking George Michael. I was into all of it.
Well, that's me. I was the guy who'd be like with my friends in Etobicoke. We'd be banging out gangster rap, NWA, Tupac, Mobb Deep, and then like later that night, I'm listening to the Misfits and Green Day and Blink 182, and then I'm at the skate park listening to Sum 41, and then dude, I'm man enough to admit this. There's some Spice Girl songs I like. There's some Backstreet Boys songs I was into, and I'd be at home when no one was around.
I want it that way.
Tell me why.
There we go. Okay, we're gonna stop doing that.
Anyways,
that shit out.
that's gonna be the demonetization.
No, I love it all. I love all that stuff because not ever fully committing to one. I know we've changed the trajectory here. We do that a lot. Get used to it.
But that was the Barenaked Ladies, so we're on trajectory.
Yeah, actually it is. Because I didn't commit to a trajectory. Like, I need to fit in with this group or my life is over. I was bouncing with groups who had different, and again, focusing on musical tastes. I got to expand my musical horizons growing up as a teenager, which carried forward, right? So yeah, I got Alabama to fucking ZZ Top in my phone right now. Whatever.
That's me. I'm all over I was driving home listening to Captain Tractor and pulled into my driveway listening to Eminem's diss song to Ja Rule, Hail Mary. So I can go all over the planet, but let's go back to Edmonton because this is a band I'm actually aware of, and this is a band that I'll let you introduce, but let me set it up because to me they were on the brink of breaking out. They were we knew them here in Toronto too on the indie scene. Like they were on the indie scene across Canada. So if you were into that poppy punk alternative music, you were a part of the underground scene that I was, you knew who this band was, and you were kind of waiting for them to explode off the scene, and it never really happened. And the final band we're going to talk about from Edmonton is Social Code. So Kris, I'll let you talk a little bit about Social Code.
Yeah, so they started off as a punk band and did a big rebrand. I'm gonna move quick here because the clock's ticking. They're actually from St. Albert, so that's like GTE, right? St. Albert used to be a separate city. Now it's engulfed, like it's 2 minutes from my house. Great guys, and they wanted to what the hell was the name of the old band?
Fifth season.
Yeah, and they were punk. And they really wanted to.
They bought into what the record label said.
Okay, you said it. I want to be nice to these guys because I don't hate them, but it's like I'm not saying sell out. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they wanted to make money, mainstream, and make money, and I respect that. And they did. So at the time, you're talking early 2000s. These guys were on parallel with Finger 11, Theory of a Dead Man, that kind of music. What the fuck was the name of that song? Because I'm not a big fan of this band. I just
Sonic.
No. They're number one hit. Come on, Kris. For fuck's sakes.
Oh, the one that came out in 2004.
Beautiful.
Yes.
No, that's not even it.
Yeah, they came out in 2004. That was their self debut album in 2004. It was Beautiful. Was their
no? What was the song? The single, the hit? Sorry with an ass. I think I should know this. You're fucking good. You gotta do my homework.
Their first single was Beautiful. That's what I was thinking of.
Was it?
Yeah. I do the research for the show, by the way, everybody.
Yeah, he does the research. I just suck.
And then I send Kris the research, and he clearly doesn't read it.
Yeah, I got the idea. I tried. Ray's very good at research. I suck at research. That's why I'm number 2 on this show. But they had a couple good singles. If it was very much they achieved what they wanted. They wanted to be mainstream, and you could argue they're probably the most successful, and I use that like this, Edmonton-based band. Period. If that's your metric, if your metric is we made it mainstream, we're getting radio play on the rock stations next to a Finger 11 or a fucking Theory of a Dead Man or whatever. They've done that, but they made a massive musical shift to get there. That's their decision. I'm not shitting on them because I don't know them. I don't hate a couple of the songs that they've produced, but they're not memorable.
Yeah, they had a following across Canada.
Yeah,
and the bands
for a while.
The bands you said were perfect. They opened up for Theory of a Dead Man. They opened up for Finger 11. They opened up for Sum 41. They opened up for the Tea Party. They opened up for a few of the bigger bands. Theory of a Dead Man's a good one. We'll talk about them. I went to their show in
I like those. I wanted to go to that acoustic show, and the timing did not work out because an acoustic Theory show. I got a bunch of acoustic Theory of a Dead Man shit in my phone, and it's fucking good.
Yeah, I went to that show. When we talk, we're gonna do one about our favorite concerts. That's actually one of them. So
yeah, it should be.
I'll bring that up. I guess you got stuck going to some chump's wedding and had to spend all your money there. So
that's true. But yeah, and again, I'm not pissing on Social Code. I just think, okay, you wanted to go make some money, you did. You smashed out a few hits. Where are you today? I have no idea, and it doesn't really matter to me. But you are definitely one of Edmonton's, an Edmonton-based or born and bred band that made it, but do better.
So Kris isn't going to piss on you, but I think for sure he's going to piss on our final band that we're going to talk about here.
I won't say anything because who am I?
Today's Tom Sawyer, mean pride.
A good mix of that when he goes into a song called fuck's his song called? Anyway, doesn't matter. He mixes it in very nice. But anyway, we're not talking about Kid Rock because it'll just piss people off, including myself right now.
I got a lot of things to say about Kid Rock, but no politics on this show, buddy. And
no, we're not doing that. We'll never, ever, ever be politics. It's about the music and when the music matters. That's all we're talking about.
Correct. And sometimes the music's political, but we're not going to get into our feelings.
Yeah, and I don't like that. But no. Moving on. Let's talk about.
Let's talk about what's probably.
How the fuck you pick this? It's just so irritating. You had so many options. Because
they're arguably the most successful band to ever come out of Toronto. They're one
of the most successful bands to come out of Canada. I got to meet you there.
Correct.
Like 100% they are.
So
how are arguing that?
How do I not pick Geddy Lee, Alex Lifeson, and the greatest drummer on the planet, Neil Peart, and not talk about
That's
Rush?
Arguable.
And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about
Look at those guys,
trio
man.
Of Rush. They call them, if anybody follows me on TikTok or Instagram, you've already heard a little bit of how I feel about Rush. It was in response to a TikTok response. And this is actually a response to the guy who commented that I'm 10 years too late talking about this. I was responding to a comment, so fuck you. But as you'll see, Kris, I like to just address grudges I have right on
And
air.
let me support you on this as much as I don't want to. I don't give a fuck what you say because I'll tell you right now, I terrestrial radio sucks these days, so I bounce between about 4 different stations, mostly gravitate towards rock music. And on any given one, on any given day, there will be a Rush song. Not because of the CanCon requirements, which is a whole, we're not going to get into that, because they're fucking hits and they're solid songs that people like, just not me. That doesn't mean they're not good songs. Doesn't mean it's not good music. So if it's still in rotation, even though it's 30 years old, who are you to say shit?
So on episode number 1, we talked about Billy Idol and the Clash, and we said they kind of they made money. They quote unquote sold out to the mainstream a little bit. We just talked about Mr. Do Better in Edmonton, Social Code, who sold right out. A band that did not sell out.
You said it, not me.
A band that did not sell out was Rush. I mean, this is a group
Absolutely, they did not. They
that
stayed true to their roots.
they would not jump on a trend. They would not follow what everybody else is doing. They did what I think it's fair to say is nerd rock. But I want to throw out a little bit of a Rush fact. A lot of times, Kris, when I do the research, I know about 99% of what I'm reading. I just put it on paper so I have a good idea. So I can, it's more to trigger my memory when we're doing things. Like when I ripped on the Sex Pistols last week, I knew everything I was talking about. Something I did not know. And maybe I'm bad for this. Maybe this is common knowledge that I am supposed to know about, but I did not know about it. Neil Peart was not the original drummer for Rush. The original Rush drummer was a guy named John. I even got to do this. John Rudy. And then they brought on Neil Peart. And Neil Peart.
So when was this? Because this is new to me too.
This was after their debut album. So 1974 is their debut album. Neil Peart is not the drummer.
So buddy was one and done. You're fucking fired.
One and done. No,
please go on. I want to hear the story. There's no story. There's gonna be a story.
There's no story. He wasn't there. This guy Neil, I think it's Ruddy. Neil Ruddy. No, Rutsey. Sorry, Neil Rutsey. Is the original drummer for Rush. He drums on their debut album. It comes out in 1974. The band moves on to Neil Peart. Neil Peart, honest to God, I obviously know nothing about Rush. Neil Peart wrote the songs for Rush. He was the songwriter. In what fucking world is the drummer the writer of music?
Phil Collins.
Yeah, I know. Phil Collins is different.
Dave Grohl.
Neil Peart's, yeah, I know, but Dave Grohl, lead singer. Phil Collins became the lead singer of Genesis and then went on his own. Neil Peart I didn't even know he could sing. I thought Geddy Lee, just because the way Geddy sounds and the way he looks, I thought he was the weird one that came up with all the weird lyrics, but it was Neil Peart. Alex Lifeson, by the way, whether you like Rush or hate Rush, Alex Lifeson is one of the most underrated guitar players in the world. The things that he does with his guitar, actually the whole band, this is the thing. I think for me, and where I appreciate Rush, is they are musicians. Like they are the group that maybe if you're just a mainstream rocker, or you're just a guy who likes music, you're not going to appreciate what they do from a musical thing. Alex Lifeson plays notes that aren't notes, or played notes that weren't notes.
Listen, bro. Hey, listen, I will meet you in the middle, Ray.
Okay.
Individually, exceptionally talented guys. I don't click with their collective output.
It's okay.
Just not my music.
It's okay.
I don't disrespect. So we're clear here. I already shit on Social Cold. I'm only allowed to shit on one band per show. This is a new rule we just invented. I am not a fan of Rush because I just don't enjoy the music. But I know that each individual is exceptionally talented and they make great music that has seen worldwide success in Canada, the States, across the world. It's just not my shit.
No, then that's fine. Kris, I think we did a good job tonight, buddy, because we were talking on Saturday and
we could go for 3 hours, but we just don't have the bandwidth for that tonight.
I said, Bud, I was like, we're not going to be able to do 6 bands in an hour. But we did a good job not digressing. We did a good job. We even got into a conversation about landlines. So we did a really good job keeping this down to 53 minutes.
The segues will continue. And if anybody out there, except for the fucking haters, if you want to talk about when the music mattered to you, drop some shit in the comments or shoot us an email. We'll set up an email thing too.
Yeah.
And let us know what you want to hear. Like, we're going to focus on when the music mattered, not just bands, and it's like stuff that resonates with us or resonates with you, but we need feedback from you guys to make that successful.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we've, for 2 weeks outside of Cadence Weapon, we focus a lot on rock bands. We are going to do the origins and the history of hip hop. We're going to do a deep dive on LL Cool J, a deep dive on Eminem. I mean, there's some really influential hip hop guys.
We're going to talk about the importance of MTV and much music. Like, there's a lot of shit we're going to cover.
I mean, I think we even got to look at the electronic scene and some of just, we
were talking about fucking Devo. I need to get my head around what the hell new wave is because I'm still confused.
New wave. I mean, even the Kenny Kens of the world, when jungle and raves took over the scene. I mean, we're going to talk about when the music mattered. We're rock guys, so you're going to get a lot of rock influence.
Yeah, we're going to get into some outlaw country / rock, some new hybrid shit that I covered a year ago that I want your opinion
Absolutely.
on. We'll get in. There's a lot of stuff we're gonna get into, so I hope you guys are
Yeah.
enjoying this and hang with us.
And just give us the feedback, because we're down to look. We're both music guys. That's the thing. We're both music purists. We love listening to music. I play music all the time. Kris tries to play music when he picks up his guitars.
Oh, fucking terrible.
But
You'll never see me pick up a guitar on this show because it's not good.
But we both love music, and I love creating music, and I will be finishing every show as I did last week with a song I wrote. This week is a little bit of outlaw country. It's a little bit of that rock country mix.
Nice.
A little bit of a Theory of a Dead Man mix. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, this is When the Music Matters. We really appreciate everybody. Guys, I can't thank you enough for the love. Over, I guess I said at the beginning of the show, 8,000 views in week 1 of our videos on YouTube alone. We are on Spotify. Hopefully the next week or so we'll be across all the podcast networks. Yeah, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Ray Rout. That's RayRauth. You can also follow me on TikTok, which is at Ray Rout 1. Both feed the same content, so you either or one of them doesn't matter. And of course, if you are still watching, if you watched or listened to 56 minutes of this show and you haven't subscribed yet, fuck you. No, please hit subscribe. Kris, tell them where they can find you.
Get me at the Army Kris on Instagram. I will be on that fucking TikTok thing soon. Not Facebook. Don't worry about Twitter, and nobody gives two shits about Threads. So Instagram and soon to be TikTok. By next week, I will be on TikTok.
And Kris is preparing content. We've been talking about it. He's preparing content. We're both, listen, you got here 2 content creators from 2 very different worlds. Kris and I came together by accident, and he's become one of my best friends. He was let's put it this way. I have met Kris a total in person of 4 times.
That's true.
4 times we've seen him.
That is true, yeah.
And the 4th time that we're in person was in the Dominican Republic at my wedding. So that's how much, and I'm loving doing this project with him. And Kris, I'm gonna tell you one little tidbit thing. I was saying to Kate, to my wife, I said, I think I'm really proud of Kris and I, because you've got 2 alpha males who have both been leaders of their own shows. Like, we've never been like the secondary people or even had to listen to anybody else. We've always just been the alpha dogs on our show.
That's also true.
And the fact that like we're just like working together and we're just being adults. Like, hey, I want to do this. Okay, I want to do this. All right, let's mix it this way. Okay, let's do it that way. I'm really proud of us, because there's not a lot of people that I would work with. You either work for, most of the time it's either you work for me or I'm done. You know what I mean?
And normally on these shows, you jump on like 15 minutes earlier, you have a 28-minute conversation about blah, blah, blah. And I get on like within 7 seconds, Ray goes, "You ready?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay, go." Boom, done. Let's go. I fucking love that, man. I do.
Do you know how many times, like I'll call out our boy. Do you know how many times I've been on with Ryan Lindley and we've had that pre-show talk?
It takes forever and ever. No offense, Ryan.
But we did the show. Like, we wasted so much good material off air. For me,
that's the problem, because if you do pre-work, you're fucking burning your actual show, because I like to go off the cuff. And this is the formula, just so everybody's clear here. He's going to do the prep work. I'm going to do fuck all and just speak.
And I love it.
That's not true. That might be true.
No, you know me. I love being the research guy. Let me get the research together and then and format the show. And
I like to speak to what I know about. Not like I don't do deep dives, but you come up with really good research, and it's gonna be a good balance. So anyway,
so I don't know what we're gonna talk about next week. I have an idea. I'm gonna pitch after the show. But until then, thank you so much for tuning in. This song that I have wrote, I wrote this song about 2 or 3 months ago. We were driving down the 400 highway here in Ontario, heading up north. And one of those trucks, Kris, you know those pickup trucks that for no reason whatsoever, they've got like 30-inch tires on them, and they're just like they're 40 feet off the ground for no reason whatsoever.
You know what I'm talking about? It's called Alberta.
Yeah, so one drove by us, and you could tell that he put on a brand new exhaust, and it was loud, and I was kind of watching him drive down the road, and it inspired me to write this song. It's a little bit of God. It's an outlaw country.
Should be fucking good.
It's
on, man.
It's an outlaw country song, which I got AI to. I produced it, got AI to do the vocals and the music too, and produce it all up. And to end off tonight, this is my my debut of my song. The bigger the wheels, the smaller the dick. Thanks for tuning in. Take care. See ya.
I got chrome on my tailgate, mud on my pride. Spend my nights in the garage trying to feel alive. Can't beat my neighbor, he's got that degree, so I lifted my truck just to feel like a king. Got a girl in the seat, yeah, she ain't much to see, but she smiles real wide when she's riding with me. She don't mind my broke dreams or my small stick. She just likes the growl when I stomp that kick. Yeah, the bigger the tires, the smaller the dick. Overcompensating every single trick. I ain't a winner, I ain't slick, but I got a loud ass engine and a truck that sticks. Big tires, small dick. That's my anthem, that's my fix. Red light flex, I rev it loud, trying to prove I'm tough to the downtown crowd. Used to chase love, now I chase the flash, cause heartache don't matter when you're burning cash. She ain't no model, but she's riding high. Thinks I'm a badass when I blow on by. She knows the truth, but she won't quit. She loves a man who compensates for his wit. Yeah, the bigger the tires, the smaller the dick. Got a bed full of ego and a brain that's thick. I ain't sharp, I ain't slick, but I peel out hard like I'm driving a myth. Big tires, small dick. It's a lifestyle, not a shtick. I scream down the highway like I'm somebody, but I know deep down I'm a damn nobody. I don't win, I just spin, but I sure look mean when my taillights grinning. So laugh it up when I roll on by with my loud pipes and my desperate cry. It's all a show, it's all for kicks, cause I know what they say about guys with big lips. Yeah, the bigger the tires, the smaller the dick. Trying to fill that void with a lifted trick. I won't change, I won't quit, I'll just keep compensating every little bit. Big tires, small dick. That's my legacy, ain't that sick?